Salute BookTube, welcome to my channel. Thank you for being here. I'm testing out a new phone stand, so I don't know if it looks does it look different than my previous videos, but similar setup. I'm just testing stuff out. I am now in volume 5. I believe I'm at volume 5 now. I've lost count of my series, which is called I don't even remember what it's called. I don't remember the volume or the name of the series. Appreciating Booktubers, My Beloved Booktubers, something like that. Anyway, without wanting to become repetitive, because this is maybe now the 4th or 5th time I've described at the beginning of my videos the reasons why I'm doing this. So I'm gonna make the you can watch volumes 1 to 4. I give a much broader explanation of why I'm doing this. But long story short, I was away for BookTube for about 3 weeks, where I completely switched off of BookTube. I came back on recently, and I just found a ton of messages, comments, tags, mentions from a bunch of booktubers that I really appreciated. And I said, how can I return the favor? Of course, it's by doing tags, and that's what I intend to do. But there's so many tags, and I don't know who's done what, and there's so many booktubers out there. So I said, what I'll do is I'll just make one video celebrating one specific booktuber who had either mentioned me, commented, tagged me, that kind of thing, or who has supported me for a while. If you're a booktuber and you consistently watch my channel, A, thank you, and B, your time will come up. Your time in the in the torture chair. No. This time it's the turn of my good friend Alex, one of my earliest supporters. Alex, the unabashed reader. Alex, while I was gone on BookTube, had done a tag called the new BookTube Name Tag. The tag itself is not that new. A bunch of booktubers have done it. I know this is the new edition, and there's an older version which I did. I think I did it, and if I remember, I'll link it below. Excuse me, in the show notes. I think yeah, I did it a while ago, but that was the original BookTube name tag, and some newer booktubers who wanted to revive this and to renew it called it the new BookTube name tag. And basically you'll see it's the prompts are basic reading prompts like all tags. However, they're linked to a booktuber's channel, the name of a booktuber's channel. Yeah, thank you, Alex, for tagging me, the unabashed reader. I will link to him and the version of the video below. Please do check it out, as always, and subscribe to his channel. Alex, he's one of the readers I'm very jealous of. He reads everything. He reads science fiction, fantasy, and he reads nonfiction and history. And you know, some people either read this or one or the other, but Alex reads both. So anyway, we'll get to the prompts now. So the first prompt is Syndectony, I can't even pronounce it, book club. The channel is Reading with James. Sorry, I was trying to like read it again. I know who James is. He's a booktuber out of Australia. I'm a subscriber to his channel. You should check that one out too. These will be linked with the prompts. So the prompt is a book that uses a figure of speech in the title. I'm sure I have a book somewhere here with a figure of speech, but I wanted one that was close at hand. I don't even know if it qualifies as a figure of speech, but and I've recently showed this book very recently, maybe a couple of videos ago. It's by Conrad Black, and it's called Render Onto Caesar. So that's the figure of speech. What is it called? Yeah, figure of speech. I think it's biblical. Render onto Caesar what is Caesar's, and Jesus or God what is God's. Basically dividing religion and church and state. The subtitle of this is The Life and Legacy of Maurice Duplessis. Again, this is a little bit insider baseball. This is a history of Quebec, the French speaking part of Canada. And Maurice Duplessis was the premier or the governor of the province of Quebec for a long, long time. Really from the mid 1930s or early 1930s all the way to 1958. So a good almost 30 years, maybe 27 or something like that. Through the pre-World War II era, World War II, post-World War II, and all the changes, because there was huge changes, and after the post-World War II, Quebec, under Duplessis, was a very conservative, very Catholic, very pro-capitalist, controlled union place, and it was just very different than what this was now, because after Duplessis died in the 60s, and it happened all over the world, but it impacted Quebec especially because it was so conservative and so controlled by the Catholic Church. Almost a theocracy, if you ask modern Quebecers. The 60s, the whole hippie sexual revolution, and now Quebec has changed to become very secular, very liberal, very anti-church. In fact, they're so anti-church in Quebec that there are swear words in French, in Quebecois French. The swear words are church, like church, things related to the church. So the swear words are like chalice, tabernacle. These are swear words in Quebec. And you're probably asking, how does this guy from the Middle East, those of you who are new, I'm based in the Middle East, I already know all of this about Quebec. I went to university in Quebec, in Canada, so this subject matter is I got, how should we say this? There's a special place in my heart for this subject matter, and it's extremely interesting, and I should make a video about Quebec one day, and maybe Quebec books, Quebec history, something. The Quebec history, it goes back even, there's, because I'm reading now American revolutionary stuff. The Americans did try to invade Quebec as part of the American Revolution, but anyway, another video for another time. If you're interested, let me know in the comments. Number 2 is Patrick's book reviews, another good friend of mine on BookTube. I just did a video celebrating him and 2 other booktubers that are on this tag. Their prompts, their channels are mentioned as prompts. So if you see my last video, I'm celebrating him, Mike at Bibliophile-Bookscape, and Austin at Eternal Reading. Their turns will come. But for Patrick's, for number 2, Patrick's book reviews, a book that tricked you into liking it or was written by someone named Patrick. For this, I'm sure people who've done this tag have probably, I went very unoriginal. This was, again, the closest thing at hand. I didn't want to raid my library looking for any book authored by somebody called Patrick, although I'm sure there is somewhere, but this was the closest at hand. Patrick O'Brien, Master and Commander. Again, I got the stand hoping that maybe some way the glare would be fixed, but this was part of his series. Is it called the Master and Commander series? It's the Aubrey Maturin series. Naval fiction, and I think semi-recently was made into a film starring Russell Crowe, if I'm not mistaken. I just want to get the because it's a very nice cover, actually. I like this edition. This is the one. I haven't read this, and I've actually got the right in here. It's very convenient. I've got the next book in the series is called Post Captain, and this is the 13, and this is part, I think this is number 3, the 13 Gun Salute. Again, very nice covers. I don't know if it's showing, but and these are just 3 of, I think the series goes on. It goes on. I'm sure there's a list, but yeah, this list here has, oh no, sorry, this is, well, they tell you, it's like a legend uh, indications what each thing in a sailboat means. So let's say number one, that thing right at the front. Sorry, sorry, it's inverted. Number one is a flying jib, just in case you didn't know. And I think jib comes from an Arabic term, but yeah, the Aubrey Matern series, it goes on and on. So yeah, that was Patrick. That's what I came up for an author with the name of Patrick. So number three, JJ the Bookworm Blacksmith, another very good friend, very early supporter of my channel. A book that features one of your hobbies, or a book that helps you discover a new area of interest. For this, I'm going to go for hobbies. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but once upon a time, a long time ago, in a galaxy far away, I used to be actually athletic, and I was a decent tennis player. I was pretty good. So I was okay. I wasn't good. I was okay, but I started young, and that was a big advantage for me. And thankfully, my parents got me into it. It's a little bit elitist, but I was very happy to be introduced to that world because it's a great sport. It's just so much fun. But unfortunately, once I became a teenager, that it kind of slacked off. It was actually two things slacked off when I became a teenager: tennis and reading. Those two things. I was as a kid, elementary school, I was a reader. I was playing tennis. I had a lot of potential, and then my teenage years had just destroyed all that potential. But love of tennis had remained, and came back to me just as reading came back to me a little bit later as I got older. And this I thought I would combine the two, my love of tennis and my love of reading. And of course, when I was playing tennis and when I was following it, again, I'm aging myself, but this is the 90s, the latter 90s, early 90s, latter 90s. And this guy was quite big. This gentleman dominated the male sport. This is Pete Sampras. This is just a biography of his. I cover his name. It's written across. A Champion's Mind is the subtitle. Lessons from a Life in Tennis, and it's co-authored with Peter Bodo. Yeah, so these tennis books, tennis biographies, get a bit self-helpy as well for some reason. But tennis, it's a loner sport, just like reading. It's a kind of introverted loner sport, unless you're playing doubles, which is a bit different. But if you're playing singles tennis, you're on the court alone on your side. You've got your opponent across the net, but you're all alone. There's nobody with you, nobody to psych you up, nobody to say, "Yeah, come on, you can do this." You know, it's a battle. It's a physical battle, but it's a mental battle as well. The best thing you can compare it to is boxing. You know, you're alone in the ring in boxing, and it's the other man or woman has to get knocked down. Same thing with tennis. You gotta outstroke your opponent, and receive every ball. So and return every ball. I mean, so receive and return. But the other thing, Sampras specifically, again, 90s legend. He was, when they were young, there was another tennis book. I used to have it. I've given it away. I should get another copy. It's the Andre Agassi, his arch rival, Andre Agassi's biography. And Andre Agassi and Sampras were 90s rivals, both Americans. And it was weird, when they were in their youth sports, Agassi used to always defeat Sampras. It was easy. Agassi was unstoppable. But as they grew, and I don't know, something, instead of giving up or accepting being second place, something triggered Pete Sampras's Champion's Mind, literally, the subtitle of the book. Something triggered him to just step up. And when they became, adult male, and they got into the adult, like the proper tennis, like Grand Slams, actually Sampras began to dominate. So again, interesting story. I'm sure Agassi is in here. Yeah, how I mentioned the late 90s. You can see some scorecards from 97, 1998. We're talking about that kind of era again. My youth. Good times, good nostalgia. Another book I've mentioned this book. I should just as a honorable mention. I've mentioned this book before in a previous video. This is another, just to I guess balance it out, because it's a male sport. That's also a female sport. Tennis is, and popular for both genders really. Monica Seles. This book, Getting a Grip. The subtitle is it's her biography. It's the title is Getting a Grip. The subtitle is On My Body, My Mind, and Myself. She doesn't. There's not a very tennis player pose there, but if you do want a tennis player pose, that's her when she started to make a name for herself. Very young there, probably a teenager. Her third pro tennis. She was 14 years old in her third pro tournament in 1988. A 14-year-old. You can see there she is also as a teenager. But as the subtitle indicates, my body, my mind, getting a grip on her body, her mind, and herself. The body part. I mentioned this before, but the pressure, especially with women's tennis. Not only do you have to be a good tennis player and win, but you have to be. There's always an expectation to look good. It's just, it's not fair, but that's the way it is. That stereotype has changed, but especially in the 90s, again, it was a bit, she reached her peak in the 90s. She was growing up in the 80s, so there was a pressure, and I think she's become an American citizen, but she was originally, I think, Yugoslav, Serbian or Serbio-Hungarian, something like that, and. Later she got into criticism for her weight. She got a little bit heavier, let's just say. I guess that picture indicates it. And again, there was criticism, which would never happen with a male tennis player, of course. But there's a story again. A 90s player, and she was a big rival. There was a big tennis rivalry in the 90s. The problem, the weight issues she started to have, was what happened to her during her tennis career. So like I said, she was a famous 90s player. She had a great rival in 90s, German tennis player called Steffi Graf. And they were rivals throughout the 90s. One time Graf would win, one time Seles would win, and would go back and forth. One day they were playing, I don't remember where exactly, but you know how after a game of tennis, like a round, you go and have a water break? So Steffi Graf and Monica Seles finished the round, or the game, went to sit down for a hydration water break. As she was having her water break, some man from the stand jumped into the court, stabbed Monica Seles, attacked her, stabbed her in the back with a knife, and it ruined her tennis career, basically. She never came back. I mean, she did come back quite bravely and quite inspirationally, but she came back very different. Weight issues, she got stabbed in the back. Again, there's a how can I there's a before, of course. Here she's very young, but then a before and after, and I guess she discusses that in this book. Obviously she does, but I'm sure it's not the only thing, because I don't think she wants to be remembered for that, because she was a phenom. She was a prodigy. Anyway, I've talked so much. You see, it's my hobby. And when you get me into my hobbies, I start talking. But just one more thing. Strangely enough, her rival, who was Steffi Graf, married his rival, who was Andre Agassi. Andre Agassi and Steffi Graf married, and they have a kid, and I think they have kids now. But anyway, get me started on my hobbies. Okay, where are we? Number 4, Bibliophile-Bookscape. That's who I was mentioning earlier. That's Mike, again, good friend Mike. Salute, Mike. Thank you again for all you do on BookTube. A book that feels like home, or a book that feels like an adventure. Again, for this, I've got quite a few books about adventure. I've got a whole stack of shelves about home and the history of the region that I call home, which is the United Arab Emirates. In the Middle East, small country in the Middle East. If you don't know where it is, you can find it on Google Maps or on an atlas. What I thought I'd do for this is to combine the two, because it says or. There's an either or. You can either a book that feels like home, or a book that feels like an adventure. I decided to combine the two. This is an adventure about this region of the world where I'm from. It's by Nicholas Clapp, and it's called The Road to Ubar. This silly glare. I'm doing this in the daytime, and the glare. I need to find a solution for this. But the subtitle is Finding the Atlantis of the Sands. Um, I'll just read the back cover because I haven't read this, to be honest with you, but and it's old. This is an older book. It says, no one thought that Ubar, the most fabled city of ancient Arabia, would ever be found, if it had even existed. Buried in the desert without a trace, the lost city has become known as the Atlantis of the Sands, in quotation marks. Many had searched for Ubar, including Lawrence of Arabia. Then in the 1980s, Nicholas Clapp, a documentary filmmaker and amateur archaeologist, stumbled on the legend of Ubar while poring over historical manuscripts. His curiosity led him to arrange 2 expeditions to Arabia with a team that included professional archaeologists and NASA space scientists. The discovery of Ubar was a front-page news across the world and was heralded by Time as one of the 3 major scientific events of 1992. And then the author, Nicholas Clapp, is a noted documentary filmmaker, has lectured on Ubar at Brown University, the University of California at Los Angeles, the California Institute of Technology, the National Geographic Society, the Smithsonian Institution, and the Goddard Space Center. He lives in Los Angeles. Yeah, what makes this adventure, this is... There are maps here, but they're quite small, and they're... okay, this chapter will give you... It's what we're looking for here when you... The deserts of Arabia, it's called the Empty Quarter. And that name isn't just like a romantic name. It's literally empty. Like, nobody lives there. Not even animals. Like, there's nobody. So, very rugged exploration. One of the toughest environments in the world. And... yeah, that was my choice. Combine the two, adventure and one that reminds you of home. So, and I mean, I live on the fringes of the Empty Quarter, like literally. Anyway, number 5, Eternal Reading. That's Austin, another good friend. Again, those were the 3. If you look at my last video, I celebrated Patrick at Patrick Book Review, Mike at Bibliophile-Bookscape, and Austin at Eternal Reading in one video. I just combined them. The 3 amigos, the 3 musketeers of BookTube. One book or series you didn't want to end, or a dead author you would like to have a new book by if you could bring them back to life. For this, again, I'm a historian. I read mostly non-fiction, mostly history, so I'm going to go with a historian for this. I know there are series and many fiction series, but for me, I went with Barbara Tuchman. This is her book, A Distant Mirror, the subtitle being The Calamitous 14th Century. Barbara Tuchman wrote a lot of history books, and I have a lot of them. This was the easiest one to find. I think, yeah, one of her books, the Bible and Sword, which is I think her first published book, was about the Middle East, about the Holy Land between Palestine and Israel and the issues there, but it was written in 1956. She died in the late 80s, so The Zimmerman Telegram, The Guns of August, probably her most famous book, The Proud Tower, Stillwell and the American Experience in China, Notes from China, A Distant Mirror, which is this one, Practicing History, which is like more like historiography, The March of Folly, and then in 1988, The First Salute. I don't know if that's her last book, but yeah, it must be, because 1988 she died, I think, in 89. But yeah, so I'm for a very good historian, very just fun to read. I don't know how to describe her writing, but again, also something I appreciate with female historians, they take grander looks. They mention things that perhaps a male historian would pass by a male historian, or would be ignored by a male historian. But that's not to say that it's like feminine. Right? I'm just saying the perspective is much wider. It's a good thing. It's a good thing, definitely. But yeah, so this is Distant Mirror. Again, like I said, her book, the one about the Bible and Sword, about the Holy Land, The Guns of August, I have The Proud Tower, I have on Kindle, Stillwell, The American Experience in China. I had that book, I read it, it's about Burma and So yeah, and then this, which I read, I read it. I think for Historathon, one of the first editions of Historathon. I'm not sure. I think before I had this channel, but yeah. Wish you were still alive and writing books. Barbara Tuckman. Number 6, Michael's Backlog. Michael Backlog 2. I'm not very familiar with this channel. I should check it out. It says the book that's been on your TBR the longest, for some reason, never seems to get read. For this, I've got a lot of those. I've got hundreds of examples, but I picked this one because I really want to read this. It's by Marie Arana, and it's called Bolivar. The subtitle is The Epic Life of the Man Who Liberated South America, Simón de Bolivar. And as you can see, this book is almost in mint condition, although it's wearing out, although it's not being read, because I haven't read it, and I've had this book. When did this come out? This is older, and I know that Maria Arana has released a new book recently, so I haven't even read the first one, let alone the second one. But this one is from 2013. 2013. Maybe I purchased it a couple of years after that. So 10 years, 11 years on the TBR, very long time. Need to get. Again, South America, very distant from me. Maybe that's why I've just never had a reason to read this. Maybe. So yeah, that's my choice. Again, we should keep moving on. Number 7, The Krusty Codex, Brian the Krustic. Okay, another booktuber I'm recently subscribed to. A newer booktuber, newer to me at least, but a good guy. A book that borrowed its way into your withered little heart, even though the genre annoys you almost as much as that cloud is just begging for a fist shaken. Or name a favorite curmudgeonly character. For this one, a book that borrowed its way into your withered little heart. For this, I've mentioned this before. I picked this. I've recently read this, and I read this to get away from, because I am in the United Arab Emirates, and those of you who follow current events know that there was a war with Iran, between America and Iran, and we were right in the middle of it, and we got a lot of missile attacks. So I needed an escape. So I read this, Train Spotting, by Irvin Welsh. Famous book about Scottish drug users in the 70s and 80s, heroin mostly. It was made into a famous movie in the 90s that was also very popular. So what did the prompt say? A book that borrowed its way into your withered little heart. I mean, I didn't like this. It's very dude bro-y. It's mostly male characters. Women characters are disparaged. I'm not recommending this book, but what I did appreciate was how Irvin Welsh was able to understand the user's mind, the drug user's mind. Obviously, he was in that culture. I'm sure he partook in drug taking, because there's no way an outsider could have written this book. Just the way he's able to describe what it feels like to be on drugs, and why you need that next hit, that next hit. I need that hit. It's surprisingly well written, but again, dude broy, just trigger warning. Number 8, Kavitoslav, another channel, good friend, Kavitoslav. Never seen his face. He's one of those booktubers who only uses his hands. He's off camera, but amazing. Just if you want a bullseye for the kind of books that I like to read, just check out Kavitoslav's channel. And he also the figurines. He's an avid historical figurine collector. Now, there's something about collecting that I like, but anyway, the prompt says, a book with a flower in the title, or book set in Bohemia, Prague, or Central Europe. The reference to Bohemia, Prague, and Central Europe is because Kavitoslav he's from the Czech Republic, he's based in the Czech Republic, he lives there, he booktubes from there. So for that, I have got quite a few books I could have found about the Czech Republic. I've been to the Czech Republic, and My mother went to the Czech Republic and bought me a book. I thought I'd show that one, but it says Czech Republic, Prague, or Central Europe. I don't want. I just, again, I don't want to look for books. I don't want to make a mess. So I found what was closest to hand. This is by Norman Davies and it's called Europe East and West. And Norman Davies is a famous British, I think he's British, English historian, British historian who he specializes when a time when it wasn't fashionable, specializes not just in Western Europe, because most Western Europeans, when you read Western civilization history textbook, I'm talking about previously in the past, in the 20th century, uh, really until the fall of the Soviet Union. When you read, or the emergence of the Soviet Union, we can say, when you read about European history, people always focused on Western Europe, Britain, France, that kind of thing. What Norman Davies was one of the um, early specialists who looked at Europe, grand Europe, and see, it says it's Europe East comes first, then West. So he, I think, was a specialist. A lot of specialization in Polish history, Czech history, Russia, obviously. That kind of thing. Probably Hungary, the Balkans. The parts of Europe that people. He was talking about Islamic Europe before it was popular, before 9/11, all that kind of stuff. Before it was cool, basically. So yeah, I thought I would highlight this book. Okay, running out of space here. I think there's one more. We're at the end, mercifully for all of you. Yeah, number 9 is the Unabashed Reader. So this one it references Alex. I think that's why Alex decided to do this tag, because he's mentioned. It says a book or genre you like that may seem uncultured, lowbrow, but you don't care. For this, I'm going back to sports. If you see that shelf over there, those two shelves particularly, those are all sports books. I'd say 85% of them are football, or what you Americans call soccer books. Um, and it's just a passion. It's a hobby, not a passion. It's a hobby. So I think that genre, there's a lot of football books. There's a lot of uncultured footballers' biographies. Here's an example I pulled out. This is David Beckham, My Side. Sorry about the glare again, but I think everybody, even Americans, know who David Beckham is. He was a famous footballer, soccer player, but he became much more famous for marrying a Spice Girl and being um, um, marketably good looking. And yeah, this is just basically his autobiography. I'm sure this is co-written with somebody, or ghost-written, or with Tom Watts. Yes, of course. Yes, football players. I don't think they're even literate, but um, yeah. See, David Beckham, much more famous for his looks, rather his marketing appeal, rather than his football appeal. Although David Beckham, what he lacked, he wasn't the greatest football player in the world, but he was a determined player. He wanted to be a football player, and he might not be the most skillful, but his determination mixed with his good looks, mixed with his celebrity marriage, made him into a gazillionaire sort of personality, kind of tabloid fodder, or just yeah, like a celebrity, I guess is the word, celebrity before social media. This is the 90s, early 2000s. This is when being a celebrity meant you had to move to LA and Hollywood, because David Beckham, he started his career in Manchester United, and Manchester is a nice town. It's a city. It's a nice city, but it's Manchester. It's the north of England. It's industrial. It's rainy. It's not the sexiest place in the world. And when he married his pop star wife, she started to push him to say, why are you? Let's move. Try to find a football club that plays in fancier London or somewhere a bit sexier. So he eventually left. He went to Spain. Then he actually went and joined. He joined the LA Galaxy, the Los Angeles Galaxy. It's an MLS So he actually moved to Los Angeles to continue his career. When, with no offense to anybody, but the American League compared to Europe still isn't at the same level. So he actually, I don't know, he backtracked on his career to please his wife, but also to expand his own celebrity empire. He went also to play in Milan and Paris, fashion capitals, very fashion forward, him and his wife. But again, I mean, it's an uncultured lowbrow. I don't care. I like these books. I like football. I amassed so many books, and I need to cut them down because I amassed them in books because I actually had an idea on YouTube outside of BookTube, like a YouTube channel that fuses football and history. I wanted to do that because those are my two hobbies, my two passions, soccer and history. But that idea is I never execute. I just didn't pursue it. I haven't, not yet at least. So I don't know if I need all these books, and maybe I can read and cull, but they're not all lowbrow books. Some of them are serious subject matter. This, for example, this is by Ronald Reng, and it's called A Life Too Short. And the subtitle is The Tragedy of Robert Enke. That's Robert Enke. Enke, I think, Robert Enke. Robert Enke was a goalkeeper. He was the goalkeeper and a German goalkeeper, and he was very good. And he started to rise, and he reached the first team of his boyhood club. And he was so good, he was transferred to Barcelona. And Barcelona, Spain, sunny Spain, very sexy football club, one of the biggest football clubs in the world, really the elite. In a very beautiful city, you've basically made it. You would think that Robert Enke would be the happiest man in the world, but Enke was hiding a secret, and that was depression. He was just depressed. And then, if I just read the first paragraph, on November 10th, 2009, the German national goalkeeper. He was so good. He was gonna be the number one for the German national team. He was the creme de la creme of German goalkeeping. On November 10th, 2009, the German national goalkeeper Robert Enke stepped in front of a passing train. He was 32 years old, a devoted husband, and a father. He jumped off a train and says, why does an international football player with the world at his feet decide to take his own life? So he committed suicide. And so this is a very tragic story. But again, yes, it's low culture, yes, it's lowbrow, but these are human stories. So I'm not, I don't, there's no, what's the word? I can't, this video, oh my God, 38 minutes almost. I can't think, no regrets here, or no, I'm not ashamed, no shame here. These books, they'll help me get away from it all. And that's it. It says bonus prompt, a book that matches your own channel name or a channel you love. I forgot to do this. I don't have I should have got the book, and I can't pause now, and I don't want to edit. Crap. Well, this is a bonus prompt. I did this prompt the first time. I'm gonna link. This is the new BookTube name tag. I did the original BookTube name tag. So I will link that video. You can check it out. And I answered this prompt, the book that matches your own channel name or the channel you love. So you can, if you want to hear my answer for that, watch my original video for this tag, the original BookTube name tag. The other thing, just before I wrap this up, is I forgot this new BookTube name tag was created by Aaron Read a Book. I should have mentioned this earlier, but I'll link Aaron Read a Book as the creator of this. He's the BookTube name tag. Is the BookTube name tag OG, but this was inspired by Aaron with his prompts, with new prompts. I think was Mike the one who did but anyway, Aaron Read a Book did the original, and I'll link him as well. But thank you, Alex. Check out Alex, the Unabashed reader. He'll also be linked below. Apologies for the late or the long video, and that's with a very short introduction. But I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for watching it, BookTube. Salute.